Purity is the best possession. It is the highest bliss. Happiness is for him who is pure according to the law of purity eternal. The second of the qualifications to be acquired by one who has resolved to tread the path of chelaship is given by Blavatsky as absolute mental and physical purity. The higher self in each one represents the snow-capped mount of purity eternal. Our trouble is with the vehicles of the self, which are usually impure, but which can be cleansed with the waters of immortality and the use of personal effort. Physical and mental purity alone enables the God in us to act outwardly. In her Key to Theosophy, Blavatsky says that among the duties a theosophist owes to himself is to control and conquer, through the higher, the lower self, to purify himself inwardly and morally. Proficiency in many branches of knowledge can be obtained regardless of one's moral outlook, but no student can even practice, let alone mastering the kingly science, without purity of life. In reality, physical and mental purity are inseparable. The fight is in the mind, and when it is purified to any extent, the body falls in line. Yet for purposes of definition, the two types of purity must be examined separately. Mental and physical purity is intimately related to the quality of prana. Says Blavatsky, prana, or life, is, strictly speaking, the radiating force or energy of Atma, as the universal life and the one self. Its lower, or rather, in its effects, more physical, because manifesting aspect. Prana, or life, permeates the whole being of the objective universe, and is called a principle only because it is an indispensable factor, and the deus ex machina of the living man. Prana is not a separate principle. It is in every part of our constitution. Its higher nature partakes of the quality of the upper triad. Its material radiation pertains to the lower man. It plays a foundational part in the workings of human magnetism. The sage performs, quote, miracles by the use of his purified prana. The beastly man pollutes nature because of the dirty flow of his prana. The pranic current circulating in the astral double affects the body and ultimately streams forth as our magnetism. Physical purity has two aspects, material and magnetic. Clean habits keep the body free from outer dirt and dust, and are necessary for our well-being. But pure magnetism is not to be obtained by hot water and soap. It is an emanation, which, though affected by the cleanliness of the skin, of the hair, of the nails, is not dependent on it. In many cases its tone and color are brought over from former births, like our line of life's meditation, with which it is correspondentially related, so that even a clean body may send forth a foul magnetic emanation. Just as the would-be chela must learn to rise above ordinary goodness, having transcended the stage of deliberate wrongdoing, so also, having acquired habits of bodily cleanliness, he must attend to his magnetic purity. If he would purify himself in every direction, he must neither drift aimlessly nor sail with a personal object, but steer to the goal of human evolution through conscious thought and deliberate action. Man makes his magnetism with his mind, says an occult aphorism. Real purity implies control and mastery over all bodily impulses. The purity or impurity of the nine-gated city of our abode reacts on the inner man just as the cleanliness or otherwise of the outer precincts of a temple affects its psychic magnetism. But even the observance of the rules of magnetic purity in itself does not purify the mind of man. No sage would keep his body unclean, but not all clean bodies are inhabited by wise souls. All men condemn blatant forms of self-indulgence, but how many keep watch over the image-making faculty of their minds? The quality and motion of prana, which partakes of man's psychic nature, is dependent on our thoughts, and as man is always thinking, his magnetism undergoes a change for better or for worse each hour. As all human beings emanate magnetism, the pure man sweetens the psychic atmosphere around him. His very presence acts as an energization to others. A dynamic personality emanates a particular type of forceful magnetism, and there are other types of magnetism. For example, John Donne, with poetic insight and felicity, defines the magnetic property and its relation to the body, through which it emanates, in his elegy on the death of Mistress Drury. We understood her by sight, her pure and eloquent blood spoke in her cheeks, and so distinctly wrought that one might almost say her body thought. Any aspirant who has responded to the lofty ethics of Theosophy can begin to purify his own prana, and thus can affect the field of magnetism within his radius. This is a wonderful talisman, and one within the reach of those who acquire the necessary knowledge, and that is not difficult to obtain. The mind is affected by desire. The moral nature is the causal aspect in man. Every stage in the series of progressive awakenings means discarding gross materiality which envelopes consciousness. To purify ourselves, we must begin by introducing more and more such pure elements as can facilitate the work of the inner man, whose fabric of his being is necessary, not for his own evolution only, but also for the progression and perfection of nature herself. Says the voice of the silence, "Mind is like a mirror, it gathers dust while it reflects. It needs the gentle breezes of soul wisdom to brush away the dust of our illusions. Seek, O beginner, to blend thy mind and soul." Occultism divides mind into higher and lower. It is the latter which, when invested with matter, experienceth the qualities which proceed from matter. It is therefore the incarnated soul which must blend itself with higher mind. For this, it needs to inhale the gentle breezes of soul wisdom. This makes his exhalation or magnetism healthy and pure. Desire activity creates an impure mind. At our stage of evolution, mind should be on the ascending arc. Instead, we find it imprisoned by desire. For in the ordinary man, thoughts have become subservient to feelings. Desire colors the mind. The coloring may vary from the darkest to the lightest shade, but any tint hinders the mind from looking directly on ideas. Notes on the Bhagavad Gita says, "The mind is immediately tinted or altered by whatever object it is directed to. By this means the soul is enmeshed in the same thought or series of thoughts as is the mind. If the object be anything that is distinct from the Supreme Self, then the mind is at once turned into that, becomes that, is tinted like that. The dispassionate mind alone perceives the white light of truth. Higher self-ideation is the mark of the pure man. The true clairvoyant is one who has pure vision, not astral sight, but the right perception of existing things. It is but natural that we should desire to contact the light of purity eternal. But unless we make all our desires lean to and center upon the impersonal, so that the natural tendency of our thought is in that direction, our minds will be affected, if not by the dirt of evil, then by the dust of goodness. The remedy lies in practicing concentration, not meditation at a fixed period, though that is important, but in changing the color of our consciousness.